Hello coin collectors out there, welcome back to the Big D Coins channel. Check out these awesome Roosevelt dimes that I've got in front of you right here. Starting from left to right, we have 1961, 62, 63, and then 64. As you can see, there are a lot of 1964s over here, and that's no mistake. There were a ton of these produced, and we'll get into that in today's video. We'll also get into one very rare 1964 special mint set Roosevelt dime, and we'll also talk about the struggles that the mint was having in the early 1960s, which led to them removing the silver from the coins. Now, these ones were prior to that removal though, so they have 90% silver in them. The downside is that they are pretty small coins. So the total coin itself just has a weight of 2.5 grams. They're 90% silver, so the melt value of these coins is only around $1. Now that's a lot better than the copper nickel clad ones that they're making today. So it's definitely worth hanging on to if you get your hands on these ones right here. Let's start with the mintages of these coins, and actually let's start on this side right here. Let's start with 1964, as that's going to be the highest year of production and kind of the real headline grabber as far as the amount of coins that were produced. So in 1964, we saw coins from the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. Now the Philadelphia Mint won't have a mint mark on them, so the Philadelphia Mint reverse will look something like this right here. So as we see here, if you look at the torch, we see no mint marks at the bottom left of the torch. That indicates that it is from the Philadelphia Mint. Now, if we've got this 1964 right here, another 1964, we flip it over, we look at the reverse side, and then look at the bottom of the torch once it properly zooms in. And then we see we've got a mint mark right down there at the bottom. Let me get the focus right for you. So we can see that there's a mint mark evident right down there. So that is the D mint mark, indicating that it's from the Denver Mint. So that's the first distinction that you need to make when looking at your 1960s Roosevelt dimes. So 1964 featured 929 million that were made at the Philadelphia Mint, and an additional 1.3 billion, that's right, 1.3 billion that were made at the Denver Mint. So as we talk about the mintages, you'll notice that the mintages were higher at the Denver Mint each year of production for these coins. So let's start over here after we mentioned those really high mintages. Now there was a coin shortage in the 1960s. That's why these ones right here were just astronomically highly produced. Now 1961, that brought us 93 million at the Philadelphia, another 209 million at the Denver. 1962 brought us 72 million at the Philadelphia, 334 million at the Denver. 1963, not as many that were produced that year, 123 million at the Philadelphia, and then 421 million at the Denver. So compare that amount right there to the almost billion that were produced at both mints. If you combine them, they're over a billion. There are 929 million at the Philadelphia, 1.3 million at the Denver for the year 1964. So since 1964 is the most likely year that you will come across, let's focus in on that specific year and we'll get into the details of it. So as far as the valuable coins go with 1964, there's one that's exceptionally valuable, and that's the 1964 10-cent special mint set finish. Now, the special mint sets did not exist until the next year. That's why the 1964 special mint set finish for the Roosevelt dime is extra valuable. It was a rare prototype that was issued. It was supposedly to test the special mint set finish introduced the next year, 1965. There are only known to exist around 20 to 40 of these. And PCGS has price guides for these. They've graded several of them. The highest value that they've graded at is a mint state 68, in which the price guide is $6,000. Now, as far as the rarity and survival estimate, they estimate that most of them have actually survived in very good condition because they were made in that special mint set. But here's some other information for you about the year 1964 for the United States Mint. The U.S. Mint definitely had a rough year in 1964. This information comes to you from the PCGS website. That was the year they introduced the Kennedy half-dollar series for both mint state and proofs, including hundreds of thousands of 1964 piece dollars, which were later melted. So whenever the mint has to makes a coin and then later melts it, that's obviously a tremendous waste of resources and energy. So melting down all of those 1964 D piece dollars, not a good move by the United States Mint, but probably a necessary one after they improperly produced those. Most significantly, in 1964, all production of 90% silver coinage was going to be discontinued because of the rising silver prices. The only coins containing silver would be the Kennedy half dollars, dated 1965 to 1970, but even those would only be 40% silver. So that's some background information about what was going on in 1964. Here's a little bit more information that kind of leads into the really valuable 1964 special mint set dime. During the time, the mint was also making plans to produce special mint sets from the year 1964 to 1967. These coins were introduced in hopes of eliminating the coin shortage within the nation's monetary system. Consequently, in order to deter the public from hoarding, the mint produced all 1965 to 1966 special mint sets without any mint marks on them. So you might remember one of my more recent videos in which we talked about pennies. We were looking for San Francisco mint pennies that were made from 1956 until 1967, and there aren't any. That was part of their kind of overall plan. So one action was that they removed that S mint mark from the pennies. In fact, they didn't produce, so they removed the mint marks from the pennies. They also didn't make any proof sets, and the special mint sets that they made were kind of to replace the proof sets. Those didn't have any mint marks on them either. The special mint sets dated 1965 to 1967 were produced instead of the regular mint or proof sets for those years. So if you're trying to find a proof set, a traditional proof set from 1965 until 1967, you're not going to find one. So getting back to the prices of these, I guess what I'm trying to kind of get at is the different finishes. There are different finishes for the special mint set than the regular business class strike coins that you see right here. So if you have a very nice looking 1964 Roosevelt dime and you think it has a little bit of a glossier, shinier finish to it, then maybe, just maybe, it's one of those special mint set 1964 Roosevelt dimes that was made as a prototype and not intended to be released. But guess what? When those coins that are made as prototypes end up making their way into circulation and get into the hands of us coin collectors, they can be worth quite a lot of money. So keep your eye out for that 1964 Roosevelt dime. If you've got one like these that you see right here that doesn't have that special mint set finish to it, these ones are rather common, although if you get your hands on them, pull them out of circulation. So there are 929 million of the 1964 no mint marks that were made, an additional 1.3 billion of the Denver Mint 1964 Roosevelt dimes. All right, everyone, that's all I've got for today. Thank you very much. Enjoy and best of luck coin collecting out there.